Hello everyone, welcome back to Morgan Hasn't Seen for another of our David Lynch movies here in March on this show, Jeannine. We are moving swiftly through the big hitters of Lynch's career, aren't we? And I know last week, I want to say I made the bold proclamation that these two movies are going to have to do special somethings to beat out The Elephant Man in my mind, in preference of David Lynch movies. But what today's movie, as it is our special video podcast episode of the month as well, what it has going for it in my eyes and mind, Jeannine, is that it is a deeply noirish, weird, creepy, incredibly psychological movie. And these are all things I very much like, aren't they? And it's also very intense, but not, I mean, it's complex in its psychology, I think, but I don't think it's necessarily overly complex in its plot, in its story, in its world. It's interesting, it's deep, it's definitely madly layered as a movie. But first and foremost, I think Blue Velvet is a psychosexual nightmare. And I think that is the world that Kyle MacLachlan, youthful little spry Kyle MacLachlan, finds himself getting swept up into in Blue Velvet, which, yes, okay, you can understand why I may like this movie. It's obviously very different to, I think, both Eraserhead and The Elephant Man, obviously the Lynch movies we've done so far. Namely, okay, yes, it's because it's in colour, those are two in black and white, and it is only David Lynch's fourth movie, isn't it, as well? Before this one, he did Dune, which was the one he did after Elephant Man. Dune didn't do very well. I think we spoke about that somewhat in the Elephant Man episode. But that was obviously also his first time working with Kyle MacLachlan, who he clearly liked very much because he had such a lifelong, wonderful friendship and professional relationship with Kyle MacLachlan, who is obviously our lead figure in Blue Velvet as well. And I mean, he is wonderful in this role at playing sort of character, this almost naive sort of character, but someone who's swept up by it all and then terrified, but also very interested in the criminal underbelly element of this movie.
This curiosity.
A big curiosity, the deeply disturbing sexual energy of this movie, Kyle MacLachlan's character is very, very interested in as well. There's a great dichotomy, I think, about the characterization within Blue Velvet that I'm very, very excited to talk about. It's obviously a much more difficult movie than something like The Elephant Man, as tragic as, as tragically beautiful as The Elephant Man was, as sad as The Elephant Man was. I think we were right in saying last week that it's probably Lynch's most accessible movie for the mainstream audience. Blue Velvet ain't that, I don't think. Don't take your teenagers to watch Blue Velvet, even though many people probably did watch it as a 15-year-old and go, oh my God, I'm really into this. This is wild. This is weird. This is exactly all the things I'm obsessed with as a 15-year-old. And maybe that says one thing too much about you, the 15-year-old, watching Blue Velvet going, I'm in love with this. But me, the age I am now year old, is also saying, yes, I kind of loved this, and I'm very much into it, and yay for more David Lynch, Jeannine. I don't know what you thought my reaction on Blue Velvet would be, to be honest with you. Did you have any thoughts?
No, I thought you would enjoy this one. I think going back to our Michael Douglas series and those erotic thrillers, and you really, really leaning into enjoying the noir elements of those. And this being like an erotic thriller, but make it Lynch kind of energy.
Yes, it is.
I thought those combination of elements would be things that you would, find interest in. So I did have high hopes in you enjoying this movie for sure. This was one I had seen, but I hadn't seen in a while. So it was a nice kind of revisit for me because I found that I don't really like. I think it was me discovering how much I enjoyed Westerns, always kind of thinking I didn't like that genre, and then really realizing this is a genre I really enjoy. It's a genre that I don't really think about, I guess a subgenre maybe of this kind of, I think there's probably a name for it, but this really kind of interesting juxtaposition of, Americana brightness, with this darker underbelly. Movies that I really enjoy kind of play with this concept in more maybe satirical or metaphorical ways. I'm thinking of things like The Burbs or Desperate Housewives or the Stepford Wives. To a degree, something like Pleasantville kind of, plays into that energy of like, this perfect image of something with something kind of darker, more sinister, more kind of real world dangerous living underneath. But this is a film that kind of really jumps right into that concept of really juxtaposing these two things together and having this character who kind of sits in the middle of this world. He is from the world of the bright suburban life, but has this insatiable curiosity for the intrigue of something more dangerous. So he kind of jumps right into the kind of opposite darker side of the world that he's from.
It's an unspoken psychological desire that I think is within him. Sigmund Freud would have a field day watching Blue Velvet, I think, because the amount of weird, almost Oedipal complex stuff going on here with Dennis Hopper especially constantly from referring to himself as daddy or then talking like a baby is just way too Sigmund Freud for anybody's liking, really.
And the shame in that.
If he was to watch this movie, he would be sat there going, "Yes, this is exactly what. It's what I've been saying
all of the things.
Decades. This is perfect. Yes, it'd be his favorite movie."
Yeah, and even having Isabella Rossellini's character be a mother herself, and her kind of being in the situation because of the love for her child, being a factor in here, I think also plays into that Oedipal kind of energy happening. So, just a really kind of strong example of that concept, where the film really decides to delve into that darker side as opposed to kind of alluding to it or making a kind of satirical joke of it or using it as a metaphor for the larger world. This is kind of really giving you a strong, stark example with Lynch's kind of almost fantastical, surreal flair kind of peppered on top of it. So
there is still a Lynch surrealism here, but it is almost the most terrifyingly real version of this dark underbelly that you're talking about. I agree with you. I like those kind of movies. The Stepford Wives, which was a movie we have covered on the show. I think a couple of years ago now, but I do remember much preferring the book of the Stepford Wives because I read it was a little book. I remember reading the book before we did that episode. And the movie from the mid-70s, it was just lacking to me in terms of the darkness that the book was giving. But that's obviously a little bit of a fantastical thing because it's all about what the Stepford Wives is about.
It's all really are. Yes. And we even looked at the remake in that episode as well, which all lend very much to the comical, satirical, kind of silly side of the concept.
Yeah. But no, this, Dennis Hopper and his band of absolutely insane organized criminals in this movie are, yes, exaggerated. Yes, very, very theatrical in the way they behave, especially obviously Dennis Hopper. I mean, to a point, Dennis Hopper's performance is quite absurd in this movie, isn't it? it goes way too far. I think this is my opinion. It does go way too far to the point where sometimes it's just, what on earth is he doing? I'm sat there going, what on earth is he doing? Like, he's overacting this to a phenomenal degree. But I've got to take that back and then go, that's kind of what he's supposed to be doing, though.
It's not, it definitely could be read as too much.
Now, I'm not saying it can be read as too much in the sense that it's read as too much like everything. You can say people overact in other movies and it be a negative. I'm not saying that in this sense. This is like Al Pacino in Scarface overacting sort of thing. Like it works quite clearly overacting, quite clearly, to the point where you notice every single time Dennis Hopper's on screen huffing his nitrous oxide or whatever he's doing, and you know, screaming, like saying the F word every other word, you know, and shouting and slapping people and then behaving like a baby or doing absolutely anything that he does in this movie. You can see every time he's on screen, he's doing way too much. But you can also at that exact same time see that that is exactly what he's supposed to be doing. That is exactly what the movie requires from him as a character at this time. It is not supposed to be the realistic depiction of such people. It is supposed to be the absolute most extreme possible depiction
version
of
somebody
such
like
people.
Yeah.
However, saying that, it is also a somewhat realistic depiction of the type of criminal lying underneath the surface of pretty suburban America, right? Maybe they don't go to the level of psychosexual chaos that Frank Booth is going to, but there are kidnappers, there are, you know, brothel keepers, there are, you know, arms dealers and whatever else Frank Booth's up to, you know, the money launderers. There are all these people who are involved, drug dealers, and he's doing all those things, but he's doing all those things while being the most over-the-top, evil, possible villainous character he can be. But it works perfectly, I think. And there's a reason his performance, I think, is so well remembered and so well revered. It's hard to forget a performance like the one Dennis Hopper gives in this movie. We're not going to try and do impressions of him, I don't think, because it's just a bit. I don't even think I'm going to make you do that for the countdown today at the end of the episode, Ginny, because I just think it's a bit too much. It would put people off because I don't even know how you'd do it.
No.
You'd just be breathing. Just calm down, Frank, every time he's on screen. But surrounding Frank is obviously, I mean, yes, okay, his criminal gang aside that consist of like Brad Dourif and Jack Nance from Eraserhead, he's back, and
Dean Stockwell.
Stockwell is a weird sort of almost MC type figure.
Like
he feels like
kind of.
He feels like the MC from Cabaret a little bit.
A little bit.
Great little performance from Dean Stockwell. But on the opposite of that, obviously, you have youthful everyman Kyle MacLachlan and kind of really broken down Isabella Rossellini, but then also opposite Kyle MacLachlan is youthful every woman Laura Dern. Like they're the naive couple trying to figure out what on earth's going on with this situation.
They go into this investigation almost with the Hardy Boys, Nancy Drew energy, only to kind of learn that it's much darker and deeper than they had expected.
Like especially Laura Dern, who isn't into the psychologically isn't into the elements like Kyle MacLachlan is. Like we see Kyle MacLachlan obviously go. We'll be getting into the details of the movie. Obviously, I'm kind of jumping ahead and here, there, and everywhere. But it is the ambience of this movie, I suppose, the whole colloquially vibe of this movie that is its special sauce. I think it's a wonderful balance of absolute chaos and just a scathing takedown of, oh, isn't America supposed to be pretty? Let's be in a town called Lumberton and have things like a logging industry and wooden picket fences. And the way the movie opens with the post-perfect blue sky, white picket fence,
fences,
lawn,
flowers, the fire truck, the fire truck going by with the firemen just waving friendly.
Yes.
This diffuse glow happening.
Yes.
Yeah.
People walking around going, oh, what a lovely, beautiful place we all live in. Children going to school.
Neighbors
and then it doesn't take long.
Lawns. Yeah.
Yes. And it doesn't take long for Jeffrey, Kyle MacLachlan, to find an ear being devoured by a load of bugs in a field.
Yeah.
And thus begins the mystery of Blue Velvet, because that's the last thing anybody is expecting to find in perfectly manicured American suburbia. And it's not a remotely realistic place either. Even that element of this movie is overdone to the most extreme degree possible.
And very much like a Anywhere America, Springfield kind of energy, like nondescript state of where this is located.
Yeah, it is just perfect suburbia meets perfect chaos, this movie. And I think Lynch is fascinated with the chaos underneath seeming perfection. I think maybe this would be something he would develop later in his career. Maybe Blue Velvet is his first kind of journey himself as a director into that, as a filmmaker, as a creative, into that idea, into that space. Because obviously, I mean, from all I know, that is what Twin Peaks kind of is. That is what Mulholland Drive that we're going to next week kind of is. That's what maybe Inland Empire kind of is. It's just this, oh, isn't it nice, Lost Highway, maybe this as well, you know, it's, oh, this looks nice, but oh dear, no, it's not.
Oh no.
Kind of situation.
Yes.
Which is always an interesting concept, and I just think David Lynch had fun as a creative in that space. I think it's a very, very clever space to work around, especially when you're making a movie of this quality.
Yeah.
Because it's also, look, it's an artful movie, sure, but it's a very, very entertaining movie. I don't think it's a difficult movie to watch. I think it's a tough movie in certain scenes because of its intensity and its violence and its sexual violence and its, you know, heavy subject matter at times. But it's not something that's going to confuse you, I don't think, which is a great thing about the sort of balance that I think Lynch so far in this series at least has been able to, or I've felt like he's been able to grasp that. Even in Eraserhead, I don't think it confuses you. It's just very vague. It's not confusing. It is just so wide open that you can take whatever you want from it.
Yeah.
The Elephant Man was kind of the absolute opposite. It was very linear and
narrative and
knew what it wanted to say.
Yeah.
This now feels like we're into the world of proper David Lynch.
Yeah.
And this is what I expected the feel to be like. There was certain elements of just absolute dreamy chaos, but it all be set in this world of facade. And, you know, let's pretend everything's okay. But we are all actually in the know about something very dark. And I don't even think that's the case in the town of Lumberton. I don't think the populace of Lumberton is aware of Frank Booth and his kidnapping.
Yeah, it seems very separate. It seems very separate because even when Jeffrey is saying who he is, like his family owns a like a hardware supply store in town, so you would think his name on a building in town would be just like a familiar name to anybody. But when he is forced to introduce himself to people in this world, they've never heard of him or his store or anything.
Yeah.
So there's this really interesting kind of thought to separate these worlds, even though they're kind of in the same place.
Yeah. Well, do want to get into the mystery itself of this movie, Jeannine? I mean, yes, it does begin with the finding of a human ear, and which ultimately leads Jeffrey to Isabella Rossellini, who is an odd character to have in this movie anyway. Not that she's wonderful. I think her performance here is phenomenal, given that it's like her second ever movie.
Yeah, because she was a model, and the fact that she did get kind of blacklisted from modeling and things like that, and losing kind of, partnerships with, companies because of doing this film. It's wild. Yeah.
I mean, it's very unfair, given she's not the evil one in the movie.
No,
she's completely the victim of the whole movie.
Yes, and I think even the more risque things with her and like the nudity and things like that were very kind of tastefully and respectfully handled, and it wasn't incredibly gratuitous in terms of showing off her body and things like that. I don't think.
No, I
think there was thought behind.
Definitely. Definitely thought behind it, especially given that ultimately it's full frontal.
Yeah,
in that sense. But you are right in saying that it does not come across as gratuitous. And I think, look, over the course of this series, I've gone and watched and listened to various Lynch interviews or people talking about David Lynch, working with David Lynch, an interview with Kyle MacLachlan, and various other things. It always seemed like David Lynch made a set very, very pleasant.
Yeah.
Whatever the movie was, his sets were fun, his sets were pleasant, his sets were collaborative. He himself was, by all accounts, a lovely, lovely man. Yeah. And I love hearing that when somebody can make movies about such nasty things.
Yeah.
That they are a genuinely lovely person. And I think that speaks to, like, why wouldn't Isabella Rossellini feel
that comfort the comfort level for her, for sure,
because she has to go pretty hard with some of the stuff here. It's tough to watch. That first scene of her and Frank is horrific, and where Kyle MacLachlan's locked naked in the wardrobe is absolutely horrific. I mean, Kyle nearly gets his little Kyle
shot as well. Point,
which fair play to Kyle MacLachlan for doing that. Why not? Comfortable set. But no, I really liked Isabella Rossellini as this very, very tragic figure. I suppose it is a powerful performance to give for such a inexperienced actor at this time. I think before this she'd have done White Nights, which is a movie we have covered on this show the year before. I couldn't tell you what else, so it may be her second movie
that she because I'm like, I think Death Becomes Her was a little bit later.
Death Becomes Her was early 90s, yes. But she has to do an awful lot. But it is odd to have a character like her in this movie. Why is this very, very noir-coded, exoticized nightclub singer who you would expect to find in some dive bar in New York, in Lumberton, Ohio, or Lumberton, Indiana,
of this little town.
What's that about? I mean, that's a slightly surreal aspect about what's going on in this movie as well. It's strange to have a character like this in a place like this. So what doesn't fit there? What's going on there? Does that throw you off? Does that throw Jeffrey off? He's thinking, this doesn't seem right. Is it? Am I in a dream state?
Yes.
And we can go as deep as we want about this sort of stuff.
Yes. It leaves you the room to kind of make that decision for yourself. Does it have you crafting this backstory for her? Because we do see, if nothing else, and know of this husband she has. So, you know, and he seems quite a bit older than her. So maybe he found her somewhere and brought her to this place to settle.
Yeah,
this
maybe.
kind of thing, you know? So it leaves you there kind of curious, but not kind of upset that we don't get really answers to that, because there's so many other interesting things to focus on.
No, and look, I think that's a good bit of beauty about this movie as well, and something particularly obviously from Eraserhead already that I'm growing more comfortable with Lynch. Not that it's ever bothered me.
Yeah, he's
generally, but I know that some people very much like
need
their movies to give them answers and things like this. I'm not necessarily that. And Blue Velvet doesn't necessarily do that. It finishes its plot. It definitely finishes its plot and closes its plot and ties a couple of bows. But thematically, it leaves itself open. You know, the very ending is quite... It leaves just a little bit of thought in the mind that what exactly is the feeling here? What exactly is these characters' final mental states here? And that's very, very interesting. I don't think we always need to be told that.
Yes. I mean, I questioned this or wondered this, you know, and was excited to really delve into this in talking about Eraserhead in the first episode of this series. That, you know, I was really excited to understand this fan base that he's developed, that Lynch has developed over time. And I think getting now into the third movie of this series, I've realized I think people really loved him as a filmmaker is because he had so much respect for the viewer in terms of not spoon feeding us.
Massively.
He trusted us to kind of just, you know, create our own worlds around the world that he laid out for us, or, you know, create our own headcanons, or be a part of the creative process in our own minds with the work that he's given us. So the fact that he's not this kind of spoon feeding director that, you know, lays out a concept or a theme or idea or an image, and you can kind of craft your interpretation around that. I think people who love films like that they feel a part of that process in watching his work. So
I think if there's one thing I've got
why people love him.
It absolutely. I think if there's one thing I've got from watching David Lynch in interviews over the past few weeks, is that whenever he is asked to explain this movie, to explain Eraserhead, to explain Mulholland Drive, you know, he will just sit there with a massive beaming smile on his face and go, I don't know what it's about. You figure it out. That's down to you to decide. I don't know what it's about. I'm not going to tell you what it's about. I have my opinion, but I'm not going to tell you what it's about. You tell me what it's about.
Yes, and no offense to people who maybe need a clear plot, a narrative, need those bows tied, need kind of a clearer thing. Because sometimes, depending on what a movie is presenting, if they are establishing themselves as a movie with a narrative and a whole kind of thing, and then they don't give me that, I'll feel that frustration. But when a film presents something that does have these abstract qualities, and really you can see the filmmaker had their own concept, but also left kind of things open for you to kind of interpret in the way you wanted.
From minute one as well, it does that.
Yeah, it makes it clear that it's not trying to kind of lay out this hard, clear concept for you. So when that happens, I'm not feeling any kind of frustration. I'm really feeling kind of excited about what I'm taking from it. Again, I think I mentioned a lot of like this in Eraserhead about like feeling like you're looking at a piece of art and being able to interpret what the artist was trying to craft with that. So yeah, I definitely, that's kind of where I kind of came to this realization in watching this film, is that I think part of the reason why people love him is just the fact that he makes things that help you feel like you can create part of the story yourself. So
Yeah, and that's because these movies are so visual as well.
Mhm.
Like, they don't, a movie being visual doesn't necessarily, it doesn't have to look like a David Lean epic to be visual. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to look like some sort of Kurosawa movie to be visual. It can just have very clever, very distinct, very precise, very thoughtful visual elements.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look at what Eraserhead had. Perfect visual elements that were
Mhm.
just perfect for that world and crafting that world. Elephant Man, a beautiful to look at movie that crafted its world absolutely immaculately and told you what it needed to say through its visual. This is doing something different with its visual because it's a little bit more abstract, and it's got the narrative quality of the Elephant Man, but it's the abstract quality of Eraserhead. It's the
Eraserhead, exactly.
combination of those two things.
Yes, like my mind is literally sitting in a shot of him framing Isabella Rossellini's face upside down, and we're
Yeah,
closing up on her talking, and just the kind of uncanny nature of seeing a mouth upside down saying
yeah,
words, and just kind of what that does to your mind as she's laid in Kyle MacLachlan's arms. So it's just like the positioning
yeah,
and the situation and what she's saying and how it looks, her saying it in this upside down position, is just kind of giving you this topsy-turvy sense of the world and giving you
yeah,
this kind of surrealist quality. Even though it's a scene of a man holding a woman, the way
yeah.
he's framed it puts it in kind of this strange way that kind of plays with your mind in a really interesting way. So like
And
shots like that were really just kind of, sticking in my memory and having me really look at it like, that's really interesting,
yeah,
that choice to kind of close up on this shot in that way. Yeah.
yeah, and look, what is that signifying? Is that signifying Isabella is taking Kyle MacLachlan into the upside down world, essentially, as it were, into the
Yeah,
dark
bringing him
world?
into this alternate side
Is
of
it,
life.
or is it the complete opposite? That is it that Kyle MacLachlan being there in doing his weird solitary investigation that he's doing into this ear that he's found, because the police aren't much help, even though the police chief is Laura Dern's father, and there's a bit of a
Yeah, and that's how he
iffy situation there because he's kind of got a little crush on Laura Dern, but he can't really deal with
Yes, and
that
the dad's
because he's
partner is working with one of the corrupt men that is working with
yes,
Frank, and that whole
yes,
complication. Yeah.
yes. Or, like I said though, or is this upside down mouth shot Isabella taking? Is it Isabella taking Kyle in, or is it Kyle taking Isabella further in? Because Kyle's
Yes.
there
Or trying to take her
getting
out
involved. Well, yeah, trying to take her out because Kyle's
he
there.
does have this hero. He does have this hero kind of complex, this hero energy.
He does.
Once he gets into this situation, he wants to save her from it, kind of thing. He
does, but what's
feeling.
his first instinct though? That instinct only really kicks in when he sees Frank. When Frank comes storming in, and he has to go and hide in the wardrobe because his first instinct is, "Oh, you're very pretty. Let me take all my clothes off."
It's very base, yes. When she kind of pulls him into this kind of sexual temptation, he immediately just kind of goes along with it.
And he's obviously he's very youthful. Isabella is a slightly older woman than him.
Yeah.
Not old, but slightly older, more experienced in this sort of world. And he's going in there as the youthful, energy, going, "Oh, pretty." And it feels very much like that. And she latches onto that. And because there's a certain power within her doing that, she's a powerless character ultimately in this movie. Dorothy, Isabella Rossellini's called. But with Jeffrey, she holds this sexual power over him.
Balance for her, because she can control him and have this sense of power over him while also leaning on him to potentially save her and help her. So she's kind of using him for both sides of what she needs that she doesn't feel like she has in this kind of desperate situation that she's in.
And isn't this even more Oedipal now? Because if we're talking about the main three members of the Oedipus story, it would be Oedipus the son, the mother, and the father. And Oedipus the son being Geoffrey, the mother being Dorothy, and the father, although not always, is Frank Dennis Hopper, even though he sometimes wants to be the baby as well. But we'll get into that very much now, won't we? Because we're in this scene now. Frank comes battering in to the apartment, and I must say as well, in terms of visual, this apartment of Dorothy's is absolutely just gloriously visual. In the darkness of it, the sort of
the layout, the colors,
the curtains everywhere. I mean, blue velvet. There's no blue velvet curtains. The blue velvet is the dress, really.
Either her robe that she wears, that he's kind of obsessed with. Yes, and kind of the emptiness, the vacant feeling of it. Yeah.
But it was these curtains that were doing it for me because, I mean, I know it's simple, but it's obvious pulling back the curtain as a metaphor.
Yes, and we never really pull it back. We see it billowing in the wind, this tease of what's behind it, this tease of this open window. But
that's what this whole movie's doing.
Yeah.
It's just going, well, just give a little peek behind the curtain. Oh, this is going on under or behind the curtain, but you're not seeing all the way behind the curtain. No. David Lynch he's sat there behind the camera, laughing his head off, making this movie, going, I'm going to have fun here. In his strange little nasally voice that he had. I can't do a good David Lynch impression either, but it's like, he almost sounds like a stereotypical flamboyant man, but he's not. You know, I can't do a good David Lynch impression, and I don't want to disrespect the man by trying to do it.
Yes, like in my mind, I'm hearing. Yeah, in my mind, I'm hearing George Clooney's impression of Joel Schumacher. When you know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yay. Yeah. Yay. I can hear David Lynch saying, yay, that's great. A lot and things like that. Great stuff. But this particular scene is very notable, obviously, isn't it? What do we make of Frank's first appearance?
It's kind of a frustrating thing for me, this scene, just because it's like, on one hand, we see how frightened she is of him. We see how brutal he is. But then in terms of how he's behaving and knowing how shameful his behavior how shameful his behavior is because he's telling her not to look at him. He doesn't want eyes on him while he says these things or thinks these things or wants to do these things. And then the what makes it frustrating for me is why would you be afraid of this man? Like what? And even kind of his entourage and having people follow him. It frustrates you because this is a little man. This is a small man inside. Yes. And why would anybody be afraid of this? Clearly. And then you talk about kind of this overacting kind of feeling, but that's kind of the point of it. This overcompensation is compensating for something. So why would anybody be afraid of this is the frustrating thing, which then kind of, makes the real world parallel to other people who are in great places of power that you're just like, this person's an idiot. Why are people so afraid of him? I just don't understand.
I don't even know. I agree with you wholeheartedly there. I personally, I don't necessarily think, and I don't think you're saying this either, but I don't think Frank Booth is an idiot. I think he's quite clever. He's just deeply psychologically damaged.
Yes.
So when I do agree with you in the sense that when he is reverting to his, let's call it, baby persona. Why in those moments can't Dorothy take advantage of that and keep him in that, try and keep him in that?
Yeah.
For any sort of length of time to try and gain some sort of power to maybe, I don't know, stamp on his face.
Yes,
or something.
shame him. Give him that shame that he's trying to hide from. Make him feel shameful for this weird desire that he needs to be your baby, and that's what kind of arouses him, and that sickness and something kind of like that. Like,
And
why
it's
not
obviously it's
take
because it's
advantage
so
of that? But
yeah, but obviously it's because his behavior is so erratic. He doesn't stay within
yeah,
daddy
that
or baby
framework
persona
for yeah,
for more than a few seconds
unpredictable.
each
And that's
time.
probably
It's
part of
like
his genius is being so unpredictable,
yeah,
is like, you never know what I'm gonna do.
absolutely.
And also he does have people she loves hostage, so that also kind of can
Yes, of
subdues her
course.
as well. But
Yeah,
you see him in these moments being very petulant, and seeing what excites him is kind of sad, and
yeah,
just seeing him be this kind of sad mental kind of figure, and you just wonder, how did he get to build what he's been able to build? It's frustrating.
yeah. But the breathing, the obviously the
Yeah.
nitrous, whatever it is that
Yeah,
he's
mhm.
doing,
Yeah.
just making it get worse and worse. When he
Mhm,
does huff that stuff, that almost is what switches his brain into becoming
mhm.
the more
Mm,
powerful figure
yeah.
as well, and go, his voice kind of gets deeper and more
Mhm.
gravelly. Dennis
Yeah.
Hopper's got a quite a sort of
Rasp.
drug-induced, raspy, weird voice anyway, I think.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, the amount of drugs Dennis Hopper must have taken in his life would have been absolutely absurd. But you get that sense
Yeah.
that there's a certain calm down Dennis Hopper energy to Dennis Hopper in
Yeah.
any movie you see Dennis Hopper in anyway.
Yeah.
So, this is obviously the absolute apex of that. But when he's doing that, his voice obviously becomes more intense and slightly deeper. Dennis
Mhm.
Hopper hasn't got a particularly deep voice anyway, but it becomes slightly deeper.
Yeah.
And therefore the more powerful father-like persona comes out, where he wants to be referred to as daddy. He wants to,
He calls her
beat
mommy. Yeah.
he does.
Yeah.
He wants to beat Isabella Rossellini. He wants to
Mhm.
do whatever he wants. He obviously gets on top of her. It's a very, very horrible, awful scene
Yeah,
in
and
terms of
even though
what
we
he's
don't
doing.
see yes, and even though we don't see anything, even though, like, he's fully clothed the whole time, we don't see any
He
kind of
is.
belt unbuckling even or anything like that. He presumably is just getting aroused and things happening without his clothes coming off, which just makes it even
Yes.
more sad.
Yes. Let's call it
But it
what it
still
is.
feels
He did.
yeah.
He reaches his pinnacle, as Francesca
Yes.
from Bridgerton would say, while fully clothed. Um,
Yes,
and I
which just
believe
makes it more sad.
if I remember, he reaches this while he is in baby
Yes.
mode as well,
Yeah.
which is
Mhm.
obviously even more disturbing. Now, just think how you would feel if you were Jeffrey, who's hidden naked in the wardrobe after almost having a bit of fun time of his own with
Yeah.
Isabella Rossellini, but then being told to go and hide quick. Oh dear God, Frank's coming.
Yeah.
And then having to watch this and try
Yeah.
and comfort her afterwards, which, yes, okay, is where Jeffrey's hero complex comes in.
Comes in,
And I
yeah.
don't know, obviously, this is what takes that hero complex is what takes Jeffrey into being a more deep, layered, interesting character, and not just this, oh, I'm sweet, naive, I'm the straight man of the whole
Yeah.
movie. Because he also has some psychological weirdness going on there. It's not evil necessarily, but
No.
it's there. He's not just a bland straight man
Yeah, it's
kind of
that
character.
insatiable kind of curiosity that I think he's leaning into, of wanting to understand or be a part of, in a way, this kind of darker thing, to feel interesting almost. Um, what do you take from her pleas to be hurt by Jeffrey?
Yeah,
Like, I took
I
it as
it's another element.
yes, in intimate scenes with him where, she's asking him to hit her or hurt her, and Jeffrey's like, "No, like, I'm not gonna do that."
Yeah,
Um, I think it also maybe plays into the control that we have, like, that she doesn't have this sense of control, but with Jeffrey, at least, she can control the harm that comes to her. And in that aspect, maybe that arouses her, in the fact that, like, this isn't Frank hitting me out of nowhere, unexpected, undeserved, you know, genuinely coming from a place of wanting to hurt me. This is coming from somebody who I presumably trust in this intimate setting, who I feel safe with, but I can control how much he hurts me, because maybe she has in her mind this concept of that's just what men do, but if I can control it to a degree, I don't know. So it was an interesting thing to see those scenes of her asking Jeffrey to hurt her when they're being intimate, and his reaction to that. And it, you know, caught me thinking about, like, where does that come from for her, considering we see her get hurt, and it's clearly not something she is aroused by in those moments. So
I don't think there is a clear answer. I just think the alternative to what you've said, which I have to agree with, because that is clearly thematically explored there. But, or is it also Frank has damaged her this much in his continued abuse of her at this moment in time, that she just, her brain literally just now equates any intimate connection, any sexual connection with anybody, it has to involve beating, it has to involve violence, it has to involve, you know, physical
some level
assault.
of abuse. Yes, and who knows if maybe even her husband was a part of that cycle as well, that he may be abused.
Well, who knows? Yeah, we don't know.
Yeah, to the point where, any man she's been with has just kind of baked that into an intimate scenario, that's all she kind of knows. And because she can have this sense of at least control with Jeffrey, her directing him to do it at least gives her this sense of power over it.
It could be that this is I think this is the great thing about these episodes. The Eraserhead episode was very similar to this, in the sense that it's so easy to get in these deep discussions of the thematic, of the psychological within these Lynch movies, that just becomes the most important thing about what this movie, about why you watch this movie. It's to have a discussion like this. It's to think about these things.
It's to share our interpretations and how different they are, how similar they are. If we got the same things, if we thought different things.
But this is what keeps a movie like Blue Velvet in the brain. It's not the story of it, which we've seen somebody get kidnapped. Let's go and try and save the kidnapped people. Let's try and save this victim figure from the evil criminal. It's not an uncommon story. And ultimately, narratively, Dennis Hopper's defeated by the end of the movie. This narratively makes sense, right? Which, it's satisfying as an ultimate narrative, as a mystery. Yes, it's twisty, it's turny, it's interlinked and interconnected. There's elements like Laura Dern's father, the police chief, working with that yellow jacket character who is, Frank's kind of liaison. And that, is it a genuine connection, or is it something that the police chief has kind of tapped in on and is trying to get close to Frank to take him down via this guy? Or is it police corruption? We're never quite sure, So there's all these interesting narrative things going on. The little bit of sweet romance you get between Kyle and Laura Dern is an interesting element, I think, to have.
And even how that ties up at the end as well, with this nice little bow and calling back to kind of this beautiful dream that she had, and them sharing this moment, their parents kind of getting along and having a meal together, and this.
I mean, Laura Dern's very young in this movie. Laura Dern's like 17 in this movie as well. So David Lynch, obviously. If David Lynch loved Kyle MacLachlan, David Lynch also loved Laura Dern.
Loved Laura Dern. Yes. But tying this nice little bow on that ending and reverting us exactly back to where we started with this, diffuse glow and the fire truck going by with the waving and the picket fences and the birds and all this kind of niceness. But there's still this element of, happenings and themes that are left open and left for us to still
Yeah.
talk about and investigate ourselves and interpret in different ways. So
It's a great narrative. I think it's a great mystery. I don't necessarily think all the intricate details of the mystery narrative are the most important thing to be talking about. I think the discussions we're having are absolutely central to understanding Blue Velvet, to enjoying Blue Velvet as a movie. I do think, as tough as some scenes were, it's a very watchable movie. It's maybe not like Eraserhead in the sense that you're feeling like, could I watch Eraserhead time and again? I could watch it a few times. I could watch Eraserhead a few times out of intrigue.
Yeah.
There's little entertainment to be had with Eraserhead. There's entertainment to be had with Blue Velvet.
Yeah.
There's real, genuine entertainment to be
because
had.
there's kind of like a best of both worlds happening. As you mentioned,
Absolutely.
It has this kind of narrative plot that does tie up at the end, but it also has the kind of fun surrealist interpretation.
Yeah. But they are absolutely the most interesting thing. Something that also I kind of half picked up on, but then looking deeper in, I mean, I was noticing it in the movie. I'm giving myself credit. I noticed this a little bit in the movie, and it namely came from when we were referring to the guy with the yellow jacket as Yellow Jacket, as Mr. Yellow Jacket.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bugs in this movie.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bugs in this movie. There was a lot of, in Eraserhead, there was a lot of earth. There was a lot of soil, mud, kind of, the weirdness of the earth just seeping into the world.
Yes, I think,
that's present here too.
Yeah, even kind of the earthworm looking quality of these spermy kind of creatures in Eraserhead.
Yeah, in Eraserhead, sure. Yeah. But that is here too. Bugs are infesting the world of Blue Velvet. Bugs are on the ear at the beginning. This guy's called Yellow Jacket. There's bug motifs here, there, and everywhere.
The ending, when we see the bird that Laura Dern talks about seeing in her dreams as representing this love, we end the film with this bird and having a bug in its mouth.
Yes. So
ready to devour it.
Exactly. If the bugs symbolize the nasty little weaselly underbelly of the town, is this nice bird in Laura Dern's dream that then manifests in the real world eating a bug, symbolizing the destruction of that within the town of Lumberton, and it actually all now being okay because Frank has been blown up?
Yeah.
Maybe we can get that from it. Yay, we would be happy for the town of Lumberton and for Jeffrey and for Laura Dern, who I forgot the name of.
Or it can also be this, this representation of Jeffrey, this character who is from this beautiful kind of idealized world, feeding on the darkness of that underbelly.
Yes.
Needing it to sustain him, enjoying it, needing kind of the thrill of it and the intrigue of it to sustain him. So, yeah.
Or that underbelly is still there. We're going to fight it. We will be the bird. We will be the robin, I think it is, at the end of the movie. Fighting this underbelly, but it is still there because I can see it writhing around in this robin's mouth. I can see the worm. There's a real bug thing going on here. I think this is interesting given Lynch's previous.
Interesting.
It's also interesting given Lynch's previous with Dune as well, because isn't there like massive worms in Dune?
Sandworms,
Sandworms. There's some sort of buggy thing going on. Maybe there's a certain. He wants to keep you reminding you that underneath all your pretty homes and niceness is just the base primal kind of survival level of living, of the earth, of life, of existence, I suppose. Like we all take all this niceness in the world for granted. And okay, there are times in the world that it doesn't feel that nice. There are things going on in the world that it doesn't feel that nice all the time. We have homes. people have homes. Not everybody, obviously. I'm generalizing. I apologize for offending anybody. I am sorry.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, humanity has pleasantries. So Lynch is there to remind you that, aren't you lucky to have pleasantries? Aren't you lucky to have pleasantries? Because underneath all those pleasantries is just filth. It's just nasty. And if you were resorted back to filth, how would you cope? How does Kyle MacLachlan cope in this movie? Not great. Yeah. I mean, he gets the job done. With the help
but still,
of Laura Dern and the police chief and you know, other people. But he goes through it for a bit, especially when he's kidnapped by Frank.
Yeah.
And taken to Dean Stockwell's weird brothel place. That's I mean, God knows what they would have done with him. I was half expecting it to get really, really, really nasty and Frank to have some sort of sexual perversion with Jeffrey at some point. And I mean, he kind of nearly gets there.
Yeah.
He really kind of nearly gets there. Frank is an unhinged man, completely.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I was kind of expecting it too, given what happened earlier on in the movie.
Yes, and like he kisses him, I think, right?
He does kiss him. He does give him. I mean, that can't be
lipstick.
Fun.
Yeah.
I
could see Kyle being just very like, you know, maybe.
Oh, Kyle MacLachlan as an actor being like, yeah, I'm fine, I'll do it. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. Yes.
For the art, you know, I'll do it for the. I'll do it
and
for
probably just
you,
being
David.
A fan of Dennis Hopper's work and like, I can't believe I'm sharing scenes with this man, you know, in my early career and, you know, doing something
I suppose so. It did, to be fair, the movie did a lot for Dennis Hopper's revitalization, didn't it? As an unhinged style actor, you know.
Yeah.
Although, but I suppose it's not exactly just before this, but Apocalypse Now he was in for a little bit, wasn't he? Late 70s. But then Speed, obviously, by 94. He does well after Blue Velvet. I think there is an element of revitalization with Dennis Hopper's career, because I want to say before Blue Velvet maybe is when Dennis Hopper was at his worst in terms of his own self, drinking and drugs and that sort of stuff. So you know, he does well for him. Maybe, you know, seemingly also, if you watch any interviews as well, listen to any interviews, Dennis Hopper really liked the thought of him playing this character. Like, he saw himself in Frank, which is a weird thing to say.
Yeah.
So there's a very, very weird thing for Dennis Hopper to say, but apparently, according to David Lynch, Dennis Hopper said this to him. So David was kind of like, oh, yeah, Dennis, you come in and do it.
Go for it.
That's fine.
Yeah, yes. And I've also been kind of seeing this love. Yes. And I love kind of seeing this love that David Lynch has, very much like us, to the classic era of Hollywood and classic filmmaking and classic film era actors. So it wouldn't.
There's elements of the noir, isn't there, in this movie?
Exactly. But even kind of like, you know, really enjoying the films of actors from very specific era of filmmaking. So, you know, pulling Dennis Hopper into his work would feel like, you know, I'm getting, you know, Easy Rider and that whole kind of thing, you know, working with people who have worked with great people who've done great, memorable things. Exactly. Working with kind of old era actors as well. And I'm sure like Dean Stockwell, and we've done movies where he was a child, you know, where he was working with a Gregory Peck and things like that. He's done a lot of
movies. I mean, Laura Dern's obviously a Nepo baby.
Yes, Bruce Dern's daughter. So yeah, considering he has this love for that era, and we will definitely be seeing that next week in Mulholland Drive. I'm sure even just having Dennis Hopper in his film was part of kind of his wanting to harken back or capture or have somebody he admired from a specific era be a part of his work. So
it's a mad movie. Look, I got so much thrill, I think, from watching Blue Velvet.
Jeffrey.
It was not in that way. I'm not there going to to Isabella
Getting a
Rossellini.
thrill from the sinister aspects of the world.
You know full well if a movie has some sort of oddity going on within it.
Oh yes.
If it's
Yes.
got a bit of sinister, then I'm gonna be there.
Intrigued. Yeah.
It is also, as we've said already, a very, very visual movie. So much visual intrigue. A movie you feel you could watch time and time again, get different things from every single time, while continuing to be thoroughly entertained by what's going on. Wonderful, wonderful performances all around. Like I said, the different elements, the sweet little romance that Kyle and Laura Dern have.
Yeah.
It makes it feel like a bit of a 50s teen movie.
Yes. Well, yes, I mean, that scene when they're walking down the street talking together, it feels like David Lynch's version of the George and Mary Silvery Moon scene in It's a Wonderful Life. Like, I was immediately transported to this juxtaposition of these two scenes and him putting his kind of personal touch on it.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot about kind of, I suppose this speaks to this nondescript location and that we're in here. A lot of Laura Dern's costume feels very 30 years before this movie actually was made as well. It feels very sort of mid-late 50s. The dresses that she's wearing, the kind of way she presents herself, it feels quite, 1958.
Sock hoppish. Yeah.
Yes. She's very kind of reserved. She's the one, obviously. I mean, thank God she doesn't quite know. She wants to help Jeffrey with all his, investigations, because of his curiosity just overcomes him. Yeah. But could she have handled anything that he saw or went through?
No, because even when she gets a little taste of that, it
exactly. And I wanted to get onto this when it does reveal itself to her. And I mean, it all reveals itself to her. The last thing you want to see after a nice drive with your new beau is one thing. Okay, Laura Dern's ex Mike coming up and saying, trying to beat her up.
Took my girl.
Beat him up and like he's this. I mean, he looks like Biff from Back to the Future as well. There's all these 50s.
Right? He's kind of era feeling
driving a Cadillac and whatever he's doing.
Yeah.
But he comes up, tries to, start a fight with Kyle MacLachlan, who, let's be fair, would get blown over in a strong wind. There's no testosterone to Kyle MacLachlan really at all. And I think this is what I really like about him in this movie. That there is such a sweetness to him, but obviously a curiosity to him. Obviously his youthful desires overcome him at certain points. But the last thing you expect really to see is famous local singer Dorothy Valens come from your own house, naked as the day she was born, scratched up, looking beaten and bruised, claiming that Jeffrey has put his disease in her. I mean, the last thing Laura Dern wants to see is this.
And I think she even says as much. Like, she says, I think when they're on the phone, like, after all this has happened, she says, like, I want to be there for you and I love you, but I don't want to see any of that. Like, she said something to that effect to him. So,
it's like, you don't blame her. You don't blame her.
It's a lot.
What do you make of "you've put your disease inside me"? I mean, this is again another question of what the hell's going on in Dorothy's psychosexual mind.
Yeah, it's more kind of thinking about, like, why does she interpret it like that? Like, why does she think about violence in intimacy? Why does she think of this kind of like creation of life and this kind of connection in lovemaking as a disease? It's making you think that
it's Frank's fault.
that she has
It
this,
might
and
also be the husband's fault.
your husband, yes, and we think of this kind of potential awful correlation that she has to these things, and so then it just puts in your mind like what must this woman have suffered in her past to really have these kind of really violent, harsh interpretations of these things.
I do realize
and
now
maybe
that we should have began this show with some sort of trigger warning. shouldn't we,
disclaimer
really? I mean,
with their
it's not.
conversation.
Look,
Yeah.
it'll have its explicit content warning on wherever you're listening today. Although YouTube, it is our special video podcast episode, of course, and we'll have to put something in there, won't we? Because, look, this is not a movie that everybody is going to be able to deal with watching. The subject matter that it takes place in this movie is going to just be too much for some people. This is not a movie for children.
No.
Let's also just state that quite clearly. This is like the most adult movie, not adult movie. There's different, isn't there? You can have an adult movie or an adult movie. And we all know what an adult movie is, don't we?
Yes.
But this is an adult movie.
Yes.
This is a movie for grown, mature minds. And this is
syllables matter here.
Yes. This is the kind of stuff I was speaking about in the Eraserhead episode, because if I'd have watched Blue Velvet at 16 when it was introduced to me in film class, you know which scene was introduced to me in film class when I was 16? Was the assault scene.
Oh.
The Dennis Hopper, Frank's first appearance.
Wow.
Why the hell are they having 16-year-olds watch that and trying to understand it? They're not going to have a damn clue.
No.
You're not going to have any clue whatsoever.
Yeah.
I guess an introduction, to psychology of sexual desire?
Yeah, but you're just barely even trying to understand what that is.
I'm 16. I'm 16. How the hell am I supposed to understand that? I don't quite understand it now. I'm trying to work it out now, but I at least have the maturity and experience to attempt to work it out now.
Yes. When you have no experience, generally, how are you going to interpret that kind of thing?
One should be at least 25 years old to watch Blue Velvet.
It's a requirement, and you should put that on the box. Put it on the cover.
And not only that, do you know what? It's not even. To be fair, it's not even an age thing. It's just you must pass a maturity test in order to watch Blue Velvet, because I think the unfortunate thing is you could watch this, or an immature mind could watch Blue Velvet, start laughing at Frank, and then all of a sudden the entire illusion is gone.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Because where I saw frustration with this character in terms of, like, this man is ridiculous. This man is small inside. This is a sad person here. But I don't see it as something to giggle at. I still think he's a scary person in the fact
terrifying.
That, like, there is a reason that people are afraid of him, despite him having this kind of petulant, infantile arousal kind of side to him. And the smallness in him. But something about him is still very horrifying. So I definitely think it is a disservice if people watch this at the wrong time and think it's like a silly thing, and they don't have the capacity to really understand what this character is or what this character could potentially represent.
I feel like I needed Blue Velvet in order to fully embrace David Lynch as David Lynch was. And I feel like I'm now doing that. I feel like I'm capable of doing that now. Obviously, even after next week and Mulholland Drive, I've still got over half of Lynch's movies to watch.
I mean,
all of Twin Peaks. There's a lot there. There's still a lot left that we could quite easily do a David Lynch part 2.
Definitely.
Quite easily. Put Lost Highway in there. Put Inland Empire in there.
Yeah.
Put the Twin Peaks movie.
Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me. Yeah.
Fire Walk with Me. Put Dune. I don't know if you want to do Dune. There's another one. There's another one. There's the Straight Story, which is
Oh, The
supposed
Straight
to
Story.
be
Yeah.
not a very Lynchy movie, but it is a David Lynch directed movie.
Oscar-nominated
Put that in
film.
there.
Yeah.
So there's enough. So, there's good enough there for a series, as well as doing, hopefully, at some point, Twin Peaks over on our TV-based things on a Monday. Definitely. I don't see why we can't do that. But I needed Blue Velvet to fully embrace the Lynch, I think. And it got me so thoroughly invested in it, so thoroughly into it, this whole way of making a movie, this whole way of telling a story, this crafting a world. I've enjoyed the worlds crafted already. I've enjoyed the movies already. Elephant Man is still phenomenal in my mind. Like, absolutely unbelievable as a drama movie. As a biographical drama, just staggeringly wonderful. This is proper David Lynch, though. I get that. The Elephant Man was like David Lynch doing mainstreamy movie, which is good, which is fine, which is great.
Yeah.
We liked it a lot. It was wonderful. Yes. This is David Lynch doing exactly what he damn well wanted to do.
Yeah.
And doing it so well. In just the best way.
Definitely.
And there's a reason Blue Velvet is continually considered like arguably his best movie, if not his second best movie. And I think the other argument that a lot of people make is next week's movie, Mulholland Drive. And we just we go back and forth. The populace goes back and forth between, is his best movie Blue Velvet? Is his best movie Mulholland Drive? Or is the best thing he's ever done actually Twin Peaks? And then everybody collectively agrees it's probably Twin Peaks, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes. But that's not a movie.
No.
Unless it's the Twin Peaks Fire Walk With Me movie, in which case it is a movie, but it's still part of Twin Peaks.
Yes.
But I get it. And I think that's the best compliment I can pay, is that I get it now. And thanks, David. Thanks for Blue Velvet. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's so interesting.
Yeah.
So thought-provoking and so entertaining and just perfectly put together.
Yes. I've loved this discussion in really getting into our interpretations of different things and, our thought processes, and really seeing that balance of him doing his own thing while also crafting a clear narrative, but still leaving it open for us to kind of play with it. So
I'm led to believe, Jeannine, this is exactly what's going to happen next week as well in Mulholland Drive, because nobody anywhere can tell me what it means.
Yeah.
What does Mulholland Drive mean? No, well, I don't know what it means. Have an interpretation of Mulholland Drive. Well, it could be one of 9 different things.
Yeah.
Oh, God, what is this movie? What is Mulholland Drive?
Yeah.
What is Mulholland Drive? Do I want to go to Mulholland Drive? Have I been to Mulholland Drive? I'm sure I've been on Mulholland Drive at some point in my life.
I think so, yes.
The amount of times I have been and the amount of time I've spent in Los Angeles, I'm sure
you've had to at some point.
Mulholland Drive.
Yes.
Even though it's a weird windy old hill road, isn't it? That's all the way up there.
But we did that. We went up windy hill roads to find the Double Indemnity house. So.
We did. Speaking of Double Indemnity, very tangentially, I'm watching a play of Double Indemnity in Manchester.
Starring who? Starring who?
On the 1st of May. Yes, I've told you already. On the 1st of May, starring of all people as Phyllis, Misha Barton. Which I think is a weird thing, but he's like big, hugely advertised. Misha Barton makes her
of the OC, right? And you said it says of the OC.
It does literally say Misha Barton from the OC. Makes her UK theatre debut as,
and I didn't think she was acting anymore.
Phyllis.
So
Phyllis in Double Indemnity. This play. I love Double Indemnity. It'll be interesting to watch a play version.
Yes.
I love the book. I love the movie.
Well, I'm excited to hear what you think when you get to go see that.
Obviously, as well, because I'm more familiar with the movie than the book, even though I have read the book. they use the book's names rather than the movie's names.
Oh,
so you know how it's Walter and Phyllis. It's still always Walter and Phyllis.
Yeah.
But in the movie, it's Phyllis Dietrichson and Walter Neff. In the book, it's Phyllis Nerdlinger and Walter Huff. So these Dietrichson and Neff sounded better for the movie. It rolls off the tongue better. You don't want to hear Nerdlinger all the time.
Nerdlinger, oh my god!
But
it's terrible.
These are the names that they're using in this in the play because it's obviously based on the book, not necessarily the movie.
Okay,
that was very tangential and has nothing to do with David Lynch or Blue Velvet whatsoever.
Noir sensibility.
Noir, it does. Next. Noir, yes, very nice, very good. Great stuff. Blue Velvet, but yes, Mulholland Drive to close out the Lynch series next week. Nobody can tell me what it means. Nobody can tell me what it's properly about. Naomi Watts. That's all I'm getting. You know, Naomi Watts. It's Hollywood. Creepiness. You know, dreams. That's all you get. That's all anybody tells you.
Yeah.
David Lynch. What is Mulholland Drive about? Sits there with a big beam on his face going, I don't know what it's about.
No, you tell me
what it's about. No, I have my thoughts of what it's about, but that's for you to figure out. Oh my God, you frustrating man. You wonderfully frustrating man that I wish was still alive, because I hate it when this happens. I hate it when this happens. I knew it would happen. Why did this happen?
Come to him after he's gone. Yeah.
I've come to him after he's gone. And he wasn't that old.
No.
He wasn't that old, was he? He had emphysema. It was all the smoking.
Yeah.
He was a heavy smoker, wasn't he, I think, Lynch. It's probably where the nasal voice came from, anyway. That is our Blue Velvet episode. It's been an interesting one. It's been a fun one this week. But definitely not a movie to watch with your youths in the family home.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Bad date movie as well.
No, don't do that. Unless your date is a Lynch fan.
Unless your date is a well, fair enough. Yeah, unless your date is a big deal. Do you like David Lynch? Yes. Do you want to watch Blue Velvet on our first date? I love you. Please marry me is what you would get as a response. You see my conversation that I had there with myself. I'm turning into Frank Booth. There's somewhat of the Gollum about Frank Booth as well.
Oh, yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
You know, talking, having conversations with himself back and forth between daddy persona and baby persona.
Baby, yeah.
You know, don't look at me, but I want to look at. Don't look at me, but I really want to look. Oh God, you creepy, horrible man, go away. I can't stop thinking about him. Anyway, no more. That's it for the episode of Blue Velvet.
Done.
This is Morgan Hasn't Seen. This is the show we do on Wednesdays. As we've said, Mulholland Drive is closing out the David Lynch series next week before we start a fun directorial debuts series, I believe, for April.
Yes. Inspired by
famous actor-directors, I think.
Yes. This was an idea from... Yeah, this was an idea from our wonderful patron, Jennifer Lewis. So, thank you.
Course.
Yes. Yeah.
We'll be, keep an eye out for the announcement posts and all that kind of stuff that won't quite be coming out yet. But soon enough, I suppose. Yeah. Soon enough, Jeannine. The main show, It's a Wonderful Podcast, where we celebrate old movies, is there every Friday, of course, as well. Our Ida Lupino Directs series is what we are covering over there at the moment, as well as our alternating TV-based shows on a Monday, diving into Doctor Who is now going to be alternating with Investigating It. Welcome to Derry. Yes, Stephen King. Nastiness. Lot of nastiness going on the show.
Yeah.
At the moment, Doctor Who's there is a nice light bit of balance.
Yeah. Yes. We need it. We need the balance.
I mean,
just like
and
this
even
movie.
that's not always light.
Yeah.
And, that can get nasty
Pretty.
sometimes, although
Yeah.
not necessarily in the adult way, definitely not in the
Yeah.
adult way. See, it's very important to distinguish again between those two.
Adult. Yeah.
That's what's going. Yes, that's what's going on. It's a Wonderful Podcast at the moment. Do subscribe wherever you may be listening to today's episode, or subscribe and ding your notification bell on the YouTube channel if you have watched today's special video podcast episode for the month as voted for on our socials, etc. As we do every single month, we do this engagement. Isn't it good?
Yes.
It is. But yes, subscribe wherever you are listening. Leave your comments on Spotify. Rate, review, like, share, all the fun stuff as well. If you want to support us on Patreon or donate, of course, you can find links to do that in the description of today's episode. Things have been scrolling down at the bottom of the screen if you are watching all episode long, but obviously you can also find us on the social medias, on the app formerly known as Twitter, and on Blue Sky at It's a Wonderful One. Find me on the app formerly known as Twitter at the Purple Dawn with a 3 instead of the E in there, because, Jeannine,
3 is a magic number.
On Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky at the Purple Dawn. All your blue velvet. That's nice. It's a nice material. Is where
pretty. You can find me at Jeannine _ on Twitter, Jeannine Devine on Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky. And if you want to get any merch for any of our shows, just check the description for the link or search G9 Design on tpublic.com.
I wonder if I should get some sort of blue velvet blanket just for
maybe
humorous referential purposes.
Get the curtains, get the drapes,
the curtain, blue velvet. What, the red ones or the blue
The
velvet?
blue. It's gotta be blue.
Interesting. Could do.
Yeah.
Could do. It would be a vibe, to be fair, wouldn't it? Although maybe some people would think I was being a bit too silly. Anyway. There is only one thing left to do, Jeannine, and I know I did promise this I wouldn't make
Yes, you did.
But I'm going to keep my promise, because I'm not going to do it. Just because I think it's hilarious that we've gone through this entire episode of an 80-minute episode, not mentioning or not stating the F word at all, given the amount we've talked about Frank, who says it every other word. So I'm not going to spoil that cleanliness of the episode, even though we've talked very explicit subject matter, by having you do a Frank Booth impression. I'm instead going to ask you to do an impression of David Lynch.
That is even scarier. I can't do it.
I tried.
Yours was better than mine.
Well, how do you know you've not tried?
There's a reason for that.
Is it going to sound like Joel Schumacher?
I mean, maybe, but no, George Clooney's impression.
Or George Clooney's impression of Joel Schumacher. Sorry.
Why do you do this to me? You should have saved this for the end, so I would have time to practice my last episode.
True, but who's in Mulholland Drive that you could do a good impression of? There must be somebody.
Nobody. I hate you. 3. 2. And I sound like an old witch. Come on.
I would hope David Lynch would be weirdly amused and kind of, he would feel it was a compliment that you would refer to his voice as that of an old witch, because weirdness was his game. Anyway, bye.
Yeah. Fuck you for that.